Hey, how's it going? This is Joe and Tell, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Jamo S803s. So I previously had some Jamo speakers, and the way I got them is kind of funny. I knew this guy, and he was kind of a rich guy. He had a big house, and he had moved, and this guy was like super rich. He had a Ferrari, all kinds of stuff. And he said, do you want these Jamo speakers? And at the time, I didn't really have good speakers. I had some Polks, some just entry-level stuff. And so the first time I plugged in these Jamos, they were very dynamic, very punchy and fast. And I remember thinking, like, these sound a lot different. And I just assumed that that's how all higher end speakers sounded. So if you don't know, Jamo is a Danish company. And since then, they've been bought out by Klipsch. These speakers have been getting a lot of attention lately. And so I decided to buy some. And a common question I've been getting asked is whether it's worth it to buy them. My answer to that is it depends. So I bought them on sale for $199 for a pair. They're normally $299. So I think that's one of the factors. Are you talking about buying them at $199 or $299? For $199, these are going to be very hard to beat. Second of all is, do you think that they look awesome? I know I do. I got mine in white. I wish more companies would do their speakers in white. I think they look great. These are not a normal box shape. They're actually tapered, so they're skinnier in the front and they get wider towards the back, more of a trapezoidal shape. They have a proprietary connection for Atmos modules that you can place on top, and it has 5-way binding posts, 2 of them, one for the speaker and another one for the Atmos module. Now the Atmos modules don't actually have a connector on the back, they connect using these pins on the top. So as you can see here from the front, they're using a 5-inch woofer. This is a polyfiber woofer, and it's using a 1-inch soft dome tweeter. It also has a waveguide, and it has a walnut accent on that. The bass on this also has a walnut accent, which I think is also a nice touch. It has a slotted front port, which is helpful if you want to place these closer to a wall. And these are some of the only speakers that look as good with the grills off as they do with the grills on. So as you can see, the grills have some kind of tweed looking texture to them. It's kind of a throwback look to the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I like it. I think it looks cool. The next question you have to ask yourself is whether you like a speaker that has a certain sound signature, a certain type of coloration. When I first listened to these compared to my ELAC UB5s, they had a sound that was more detailed and they sound brighter. They sounded like they had punchier bass. And overall, it kind of made me think like, is this just like a better sounding speaker? And that scared me a little bit because these are about half the price of those UB5s. But after I did my measurements and after playing with them for a little while, I understood why they sound the way they do. And so like a magic trick, sometimes it's better to not know how it works, because once I found out using my measurements, it kind of revealed why they sound that way. And the reason is because it has a V-shaped response, which means that the treble is tilted upwards and the bass is also boosted. This gives that V shape, or some people call it a smiley face. Now back in the day, a lot of receivers used to have graphic equalizers. Even car stereos used to have graphic equalizers as well. And I remember going to my friend's house and seeing that they'd always be shaped like a little V. They'd have the bass boosted and then have the treble boosted. And same with cars. And it makes you wonder, why is that? And I think the answer is because people like the way that that sounds. Now to be more scientific, there's something called the Fletcher-Munson curve, also known as the equal loudness contour curve. And what they found out is that this type of response, that V-shaped response, counteracts the fact that you're not able to hear the high frequencies and low frequencies as well, especially when listening at lower volumes. You may have seen on some of the older receivers a loudness button, and that's exactly what it does, is it applies the equal loudness contour curve. So Jamo's smart, they have that sound kind of built into the speakers. So there's a pro and con to that. They sound great if you're listening to them at low volumes, but typically what happens is when you start turning it up, it also retains that V shape. Whereas with some of the older receivers like the Yamahas, it would start to flatten out the response the closer you got to the reference level. So that's the next question. Are you planning to use these with subs? As you can see from the frequency response charts, it has a big boost under 100 Hertz, but then it drops off at 50 Hertz. So initially when I heard the Jamos, they seemed like they had more bass, and that's because the bass is boosted. But on certain songs, what I started to find out was that there was bass missing. There were certain parts that I knew there was a bass drop and I just wouldn't hear it. And of course, that's stuff that was below 50 Hertz. That's a trade-off that you make when you boost in certain areas and if you're using a lightweight driver like this one. If you're planning to use subs, then you get the best of both worlds because the subs can handle the frequencies below 50 Hertz and these can do a good job of producing the mids and the highs. It'll also allow you to play these speakers a little bit louder because that's another thing I notice is these speakers do not like to be played super loud. Another thing to consider is whether you're going to be using an audio video receiver or a 2-channel amplifier with tone controls. Most audio video receivers have an ability to do room correction. So they give you a mic and you place it at your listening position. And from there, it calibrates the system so it's a flat response at your listening position. So that'll kind of flatten out that V-shaped response of these speakers. If you're like me and you're using something like the Denon or Marantz, it comes with Odyssey and it does have an equalization curve that adjusts with the volume. If you're using a 2-channel amplifier and it has tone controls, then you can even out the response on these. If you don't have tone controls, hopefully you like the sound signature of these Jamos. I know most people do, but it's not all about frequency response. Something I noticed about these is that the woofer reacts very quickly. It's a very lightweight material, and so it starts and stops quickly. Versus, let's say, something like a giant 18-inch woofer, the cone is much heavier, which means that it's slower to start and stop, just inertia. I'm not going to pretend to know about physics, but that's the reason. And the end result of that is that you'll notice that there's details, not just in the highs, but in the lower frequencies as well. Another thing that I like about these speakers is they have a good off-axis response. So even if the speakers aren't pointed directly at your ears, you can still move around and the sweet spot remains. It has a good center image and it has a wide soundstage if the track requires it. So with speakers that cost under $200, you have to have realistic expectations. And where the compromise is on these Jamos is in the build quality. As you can see here on the front, there are some minor defects, nothing that really bothers me too much. One thing that does bother me is that one of the speakers has a resonance that the other one doesn't have. That same speaker also distorts around 30 something hertz, and it's something that I noticed on one speaker and not the other. So I emailed customer support for Jamo as well as Klipsch since they're the parent company, and it's been 7 days and I hadn't got an email back from them, so I decided to call customer support and somebody answered right away. They told me, you know what, don't worry about it, we'll send you some new ones. They were really good about it. So just some growing pains, nothing that I would really worry about. I think that Klipsch backs their products. I think they're just having some growing pains. I think that they didn't expect that these speakers would be as popular as they are. So keep in mind that this was only happening at extremely loud volumes, louder than I'd normally listen to them. So as usual, here's a sound demo. I have some new calibrated mics thanks to Parts Express, and these have a known frequency response from 20 Hz to 20 kHz, and they're very flat as you can see here. This is a different pair of mics than I used before, so you can't really compare the sound from this sound demo to a previous one, but moving forward, I will be using these mics. So take a listen, let me know what you think.
Shadow drew again. You sit alone, alone, on the silence of your name, Elaine. Things round you are nice and plain and full of you, Elaine.
So there you go. What did you think? So I have a Patreon account and I have an exclusive recording that is for music that is not copyright, so music that everybody kind of knows. I don't want to get a copyright strike here on YouTube, so I'm gonna put that on Patreon. If you're interested, then you can become a supporter for as little as $1. Anything is appreciated, so whatever works for you. If not, then that's okay too. I also have a podcast on there, so if you're interested, check out patreon.com/JoeUntil. So I have the places on the leaderboard. Let's see how they place. All right, so here is our new digital leaderboard. Easier for everyone to see. And so now I have to rate these Jamo S803s. So for best bookshelf, let's see. Best bookshelf, on top is the ELAC UB5s, Wharfdale Diamond 11s, and then Pioneers. Well, I would say they're going to have to go under the Diamond 11s, but above the Pioneer SPBS 22 LRs. Boom. All right, cool. They're not towers. They're okay, so they can be used for a desktop. Let's see. On top is the Vanuatu T0s right now, followed by the Cantos. All of these are powered, so that kind of gives them an advantage. Whereas these are not powered, and you're going to need an amplifier. So a lot of the ones with built-in amplifiers are higher, just because on a desktop that kind of makes sense to have a built-in amplifier. So these are going to have to go. Are these above or below the Wharfdale Diamond 11s? I'd say they're above the UB5s just because they are front ported. These Wharfdale Diamond 11s, 11.1s are downward ported, and so that's good for a desk. Well, these are a little bit less expensive. I'm going to have to put them slightly below. I was about to put them above. It's really close, but I'm going to have to put them below. All right, so best under right now, these are on sale for $199. So they're in the under $200 category, and as I said at the beginning, these are going to be hard to beat at that price. They're competing with the Fluence AI40s, which are powered speakers, but overall, I would still have to say, man, that's tough. Are they going to beat these? Under $200. The Fluence have a flat frequency response. They're powered. The Fluence has built-in DSP as well. But I think these Jamos can play a little bit louder. You know what? I didn't have any issues with the build quality on the AI40, so I'm going to have to put the Jamos right here. I think the regular price on these is $299, and it would have stiffer competition here in the $500 price range because you're going up against some speakers that are pretty awesome. Even these towers, they go on sale for $399 for the Wharfdale Crystal 4.3s. So that's a tough category. I think if they want to do well, they should stay in this $200 and under category. And then last but not least, overall, regardless of price. All right, where will you guys go? Okay, so UB5s are on top right now, followed by the Crystal 4.3 towers and the Diamond 11s. The ELAC 5.2s, F5.2s, I don't think that these sound better than F5.2s. I would have to say that these land right here above the Pioneer SP-BS22 LRs. Now these sell for under $100 sometimes when they go on sale, and the Jamos are double the price, but still, I think that the Jamos sound better than this, but not better than some of these towers and the Wharfdale Diamond 11s. So that's where they land. Not bad. 5th place. All right, overall, not bad considering it's a speaker that costs $199 when it goes on sale. So that's pretty much it. I hope you liked the video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I release a new video. And that's pretty much it. Anyway, take care. Bye-bye.